You're standing in a room full of strangers. Your eyes scan across dozens of faces. Then, out of nowhere, they stop. On one face, one person, and your heart rate just changed. You didn't choose that. Nobody handed you a checklist. Your body just decided, in less than 1/5 of a second, that this particular human was worth paying attention to. And the wild part? A peacock has been doing the exact same thing for millions of years. So has a moth. So has a fish you have never heard of, living at the bottom of a lake you will never visit. Welcome to the oldest, weirdest, most universal obsession on planet Earth. It is not money. It is not food. It is the pull between the sexes, and it has been running the show since long before humans showed up to ruin everything with dating apps. Let's get one thing straight. You're not falling for a vibe. You're falling for chemistry. Literally. In 1995, a Swiss biologist named Klaus Wedekind ran one of the strangest experiments in modern science. He took a group of men, gave them clean white shirts, and asked them to wear the same shirt for 2 nights straight. No deodorant, no cologne, no fancy soap, just 2 days of pure, unfiltered man smell. Then he collected the shirts, sealed each one in its own box, and brought in a group of women to sniff them, one by one, like a very strange wine tasting, except the wine is sweat. Here is where it gets interesting. The women were not just picking the shirt that smelled the least horrible. They were, without knowing it, picking the smell that matched the most different immune system genes from their own. Scientists call this group of genes the Major Histocompatibility Complex, or MHC for short. Think of MHC as your body's internal security team, trained to recognize invaders like viruses and bacteria. Why would smelling for different immune genes matter? Because a baby made from 2 very different immune systems gets the best of both. A wider, stronger, more well-rounded defense system. Nature, it turns out, has been running background checks through your nose this entire time. So next time someone says there was just something about the way he smelled, they're not being poetic. They're being a biology textbook. And humans are amateurs at this compared to the rest of the animal kingdom. Take the silkworm moth. A female moth releases a chemical called bombicol from a gland near the tip of her body. It takes one single molecule, just one, drifting on the wind, to make a male moth completely lose his composure from over a mile away. One molecule. That is the equivalent of smelling a single drop of perfume from across an entire city and instantly knowing exactly who is wearing it. Now compare that to a teenager spraying an entire bottle of body spray into a school hallway and hoping for the best. Nature really did give some species an unfair advantage. And smell is not even the strangest method out there. Some animals advertise with color instead, and they are not subtle about it. Take the guppy, a tiny freshwater fish you have probably seen in a pet store without a second thought. Researchers studying guppies in the wild, including work building on the foundational mate choice experiments of biologist John Endler, discovered something almost funny. Female guppies consistently prefer males with brighter, more orange spots on their bodies. The brighter the orange, the more attention he gets. Why orange? Because that orange pigment comes from carotenoids, the same nutrients found in foods like carrots and certain algae. A guppy cannot manufacture carotenoids on his own. He has to eat them, digest them properly, and stay healthy enough to actually display them on his skin. A dull, pale guppy is quietly broadcasting a much less flattering message. I have either been sick, poorly fed, or both. The bright orange guppy, on the other hand, is walking proof that he has been finding food, staying healthy, and avoiding predators long enough to look that good. Once again, the flashy display is not decoration. It is a resume written in color instead of words. Humans, it turns out, are reading a very similar resume without realizing it. A bright, clear complexion, glossy hair, steady energy throughout the day. These are not just aesthetic preferences pulled from nowhere. They are ancient, hardwired proxies for the same underlying question every guppy and every peacock is also asking. Is this body currently healthy, well-resourced, and capable of surviving long-term? But attraction is not only about smell or color. Sometimes it is about looking absolutely ridiculous on purpose. The peacock did not evolve that tail to fly faster. If anything, that tail makes him slower, heavier, and a much easier snack for a predator. So why keep it? Charles Darwin asked himself the same question more than 150 years ago, and it almost broke his theory of evolution. Survival of the fittest was supposed to explain why animals look the way they do. But a giant, flashy, impractical tail does not help anything survive. So Darwin proposed a second force working alongside survival. He called it sexual selection. Sometimes a trait does not exist to help you live longer. It exists purely to help you get chosen. A peahen looking at a magnificent tail is not admiring fashion. She is reading a resume. That tail is expensive to grow. It is expensive to carry around. Only a genuinely healthy, well-fed, parasite-free male can afford to walk around wearing that much extra weight and still survive. The tail is basically saying, look how strong I must be if I can afford to be this impractical and still be alive. Translate that into modern human terms for a second. Someone showing up looking effortlessly put together, healthy, glowing, full of energy is unconsciously doing the exact same advertisement a peacock does. Different feathers, same resume. Now let's reconstruct what this looked like for your actual ancestors, tens of thousands of years ago, long before lipstick or gym memberships existed. Picture a small group of early humans gathered near a fire as the sun goes down. There is no swiping left or right here. There's a fire, some smoke, the sound of insects, and a very limited dating pool of maybe 20 or 30 other people you have known your entire life. In this world, attraction was not about a profile picture. It was about information you could only get up close. Can this person carry water for hours without tiring? Does this person's laugh attract the whole group or annoy it? Does this person move steadily, breathe easily, look you directly in the eye without flinching? Anthropologist Helen Fisher has spent decades studying exactly this, the biology of human attraction and bonding. Her research points to 3 separate brain systems working together during attraction. One drives raw desire. One drives the intense, obsessive, can't stop thinking about you feeling of early romance. And one drives the slow, steady, decades-long attachment that keeps 2 people raising children side by side. 3 different systems, 3 different jobs, and your ancestors needed every single one of them to survive. Because here's the part nobody tells you in school. For most of human history, finding a mate was not romantic. It was a survival strategy with extra steps. A human baby is famously, almost comically helpless. Unlike a baby zebra that can stand and run within hours of being born, a human baby cannot even hold up its own head for months. Raising one successfully in a world full of predators, disease, and unpredictable food supplies basically required 2 committed adults instead of 1. Attraction was the biological glue that got 2 very different people to agree to that incredibly demanding multi-year project together. So when your heart skips a beat across a crowded room, you're not being silly or shallow. You're running software that is several 100,000 years old, originally designed to answer one very practical question. Can I survive the next 20 years better with this person than without them? Here comes the twist, though. The exact same system that helped your ancestors survive can absolutely backfire today. That instinctive pull toward a confident voice, a symmetrical face, a certain swagger, evolve in a world with no photographs, no filters, and no way to fake most of these signals convincingly. Confidence usually meant actual experience surviving real danger. A healthy glow usually meant actual good nutrition. There was very little room to fake it. Now imagine dropping that same ancient instinct into a world of edited photos, curated profiles, and strangers performing confidence they may not actually have. The radar still works exactly the way it always did. The problem is the environment around it changed at lightning speed, while your brain's wiring did not get the memo. Researchers studying mate preference, including work building on Wedekind's original smell experiments, have found something almost comedic. Women taking hormonal birth control sometimes show a shift in their scent preferences, briefly favoring genetically similar partners instead of different ones, the opposite pattern from what the ancient system was designed for. Your biology, in other words, is constantly adjusting its dial based on circumstances you are not even consciously aware of. Think about that for a second. An entire ancient detection system, refined over hundreds of thousands of years to sniff out the healthiest possible partner, can be quietly nudged off course by a tiny daily pill nobody designed with peacocks or moths in mind. Evolution built an incredibly precise instrument, and modern life keeps finding new and creative ways to mess with its calibration. It does not stop there either. Dating apps now let you scroll past hundreds of faces in the time it once took your ancestors to evaluate a single potential partner around a campfire. Your attraction system, the one built across countless generations to make careful, high-stakes, slow decisions, is now being asked to make instant judgments at a speed it was never designed for. No wonder so many people describe modern dating as exhausting. You are essentially asking a finely tuned ancient compass to spin and fast forward over and over again, hundreds of times a day. So the next time you feel an inexplicable pull toward a complete stranger, or you cannot quite explain why you find one specific person endlessly fascinating while someone equally good-looking leaves you completely unmoved, understand what is actually happening. That is not random. That is not even really about looks. That is millions of years of evolutionary trial and error, refined across countless generations of moths, peacocks, fish, mice, and humans, all asking variations of the exact same question. Is this the one worth building a future with? Animals have been answering that question with feathers, smells, songs, and colors since long before humans ever existed to write songs about it ourselves. You walked into that room a stranger to evolution's plan. You walked out of it carrying the same ancient, universal pull that built every species you have ever heard of, including your own. The chemistry was never new. You just finally noticed it.